Today we're talking about this one, number 39, The Hidden. This one was written by Laura Becciani-Weiss, back for her third book. How does she do with the writing? The writing's fine. The pacing is a bit rushed, but it was all right. It was fine. Right, that's the author stuff out of the way. Let's talk about this one, shall we? Firstly, the most obvious thing when you look at this book is at the end of each book, you get a little preview of the next book. And usually it's like 3 or 4 pages, maybe a chapter of the next book. Well, not this time, ladies and gentlemen. Look how much of the book the preview takes. That's like a fifth, 1/5 of the whole book. And that made me think, hold on a minute, how long is this book? It's 117 pages. The shortest we've gotten before this is like 138. So we've knocked off about 20 pages of the next lowest book. It's a really short book. But I'll tell you now, it didn't feel like a short book. In fact, this one felt like it dragged on for 200 pages. It felt like it went on and frickin' on. Now, let's go through the plot. So we go off to a rushing great start, okay? We get the usual, my name is Cassie bollocks. Oh, there are these Yeerks and they take over everything. Your standard Animorphs intro. But within the first chapter, what happens? Cassie hears something. She's like trying to find a mouse under a thing or whatever. Not that that's ever actually relevant to anything that happens here, really. It's a helicopter and it's flying above the barn really low, and then it shoots off. And then Cassie turns around and there is our good friend Eric the Chi, our Bezzy, our top lad. Best buddies Eric. That guy who keeps leading us into shit. Yeah, best buddy Eric. Love you, man. Nah, honestly, I fucking hate you. What he says is that the Yeerks have fixed the Helmicron ship. Remember book 24, the Helmicrons, you had the 2 Helmicron ships. I'm pretty sure one of them exploded. And the other one apparently the Yeerks kept, because the Animorphs didn't think to do anything with that. So the Yeerks have got this Helmicron ship and they've fixed it and they're using the morph tracking capability, because remember in book 24 when it attached to the blue box it was attracted to that energy. So the Yeerks have that power now. Great. Awesome. How do the Chi know about this? Now, of course, you know that I'm going to dip into my conspiracy theory, which, as far as I'm concerned, is canon now, that the Chi are playing both sides here. They're just having a bit of fun. Now, why does this fit into that little conspiracy theory? Well, the Chi have obviously been spying on the Yeerks to figure out that the Yeerks have this particular technology, okay? The Chi can travel at super speeds. We saw it in book 27, The Exposed, where Eric just rocket up his ass, fucking whammo, to the bottom of the ocean, to the Pemelite ship. Within seconds, they go move at super fast speed, right? Why did it take him until the very moment that this helicopter is above Cassie's house to warn her? Why does it take that long? If the Chi have infiltrated, even at the last possible moment, it would be like a Chi on board this helicopter, right? So this infiltrating Chi is sitting on the helicopter. And this is the last reasonable moment that they could have figured this out. It's not, I highly doubt it. This Chi steps on board and then someone says, right, oh, turns out, by the way, we've got this Helmicron ship. And we're trying to locate the thing. Oh, all right. And he sits and waits. Oh, there's Cassie's house. Network, Chi, get on this now. No. Put it this way. If the Chi knew this was happening and they were on the Animorphs side, they would say to the Animorphs, as soon as they figured it out, you know, into the Chi network, Eric knows right away. He could travel to Jake within 5 minutes. Less than 5 minutes. And he'd be at Jake, I've just figured out from the network, guys, right, they got this fucking Helmicron ship, yeah? Remember that one? Yeah, they've jazzed it up a bit, put a spoiler on it, put some neon underneath it and they're after you. No, they wait till the last bloody second. Literally the last second. They're playing games, guys. They're playing fucking games. How have you not realised this yet? Jake, get on it, mate. Christ. So Cassie panics and she takes the blue box, which is hidden in her barn, and rushes out. And her mother is going to the gardens to do some veterinary stuff. Veterinary stuff. So Cassie hitches a ride with her. And they drive to the gardens. Apparently this helicopter is only within a range. It can't detect the exact location of the blue box, which is highly convenient, I think you'll find. So it obviously doesn't see Cassie's mother driving out and the signal going along with it. No, that doesn't happen. No, they don't see that. But what I find funny is, I think it's page 9. It turns out Cassie's mother is a Honda Jazz driver, right? The speed limit's 45 on this road, Cassie's mother says. Yeah, but you're only doing 30, Mum. 30? And she was speeding up, slowing down, and she's talking to her foot on and off the fucking accelerator. The car's behind her like, fucking get a move on, Gran. Yeah, she's a Honda Jazz driver. She's driving along in a Honda Jazz. It doesn't even need to say it. I just know. Honda Jazz drivers are all the same. Evil. A bit like Medi Twazak. You drive a Honda Jazz, don't you, Medi Twazak? Medi Bollocks, if you're watching this. I bet you drive a Honda Jazz, don't you? Yeah, fucking right. So Eric has apparently also gone to the other Animorphs. Or you'd assume some of the other Chi have, unless they're just sitting at home fucking twiddling their thumbs and watching daytime television. So when Cassie gets to the gardens, the others are all there in Seagull Morph, and they're all talking like, oh, they've got this technology, what the hell are we going to do? And apparently there are guys coming after Cassie. She's got the blue box. She's walking around like this. Don't mind me, I'm not suspicious at all. Jesus Christ. So she's running around like this, and there are guys following her. And then she goes into a back bit where there's like delivery transport going on, and there's this big lorry and there are controllers around it. And I just find it funny because they're on walkie-talkies in this public, well, not so much public, but there are other people there. And they're just saying into these radios, right, we've got to find these Andalite bandits, yeah? We've got to freaking do this or Vista Free will cut our heads off and shit. And they're not thinking, okay, the girl on the other side of the lorry can hear us. What about average Joe Bob on the other side of the lorry? He's like, fuck are they talking about? But yeah, she's still wearing the morphing cube thusly. And she thinks, right, last minute, I've got to get inside this lorry or truck, whatever the frick you Americans call it. I'm going to take this out now because by this point she takes it out as well, so I can justify taking this out. Turns out there's a frickin' buffalo in the back of this truck, and it's held on by 4 strings. Oh, that's how it's put across. Oh, why is there so much glare on this? That's better. That's better. I got to watch out for production quality, you know. This buffalo is held on by 4 strings, 2 on the horns and 2 around the neck. You know, the part of the body that's being moved around a whole lot, and they're like little dangly strings. Do you know who should be fired here? The transport people and the person who's there authorising the transport, which turns out to be Cassie's mum. So not only is she a Honda Jazz driver, she's crap at her job. Fire the bitch. Fire the bitch. Damn it. Classic Honda Jazz driver. And then, of course, the truck moves off, and within like 2 minutes, the strings start coming off this thing because these guys have no fucking clue how to handle dangerous animals. And Cassie's thinking, oh shit, I'm going to get crushed by this buffalo. It's snorting and... And the other animals say, oh no, there's a blockade, and Vista 3's limo has turned up. Yes, Vista 3 still has his prized limo. Not for much longer, I think you'll find. That's probably the best thing about this book, the fact that the limo gets totally freaking destroyed. Oh, glare, what is this? So the lorry's just like Cassie, I'm sure she's driving, it's like fucking stop, start, fucking this, that, and Buffalo's like bang, bang, bang. And Cassie's put the morphing cube down there on the ground. So freaking, yeah, it's just there. And then Visas Free's like, I'm a lad. I can open this thing with a buffalo in it. Whoa, the buffalo's free because they couldn't fucking tie it down properly. And this buffalo comes storming out. And what Cassie had done, she'd fought ahead and thought, oh, I shall morph this buffalo. So she acquires the buffalo, morphs it. Transport guys don't have a bloody clue how many buffalo they've put on this thing. They're just like, oh no, the buffalo is free. Never mind, there's freaking 2 of them now. They both come out, charging around, bang, 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 stamping on human... It doesn't even specifically say human controls, it just says stamping on people, which is... there's something I've got to say about this book. It is very violent. I think Laura Becciani-Wise wanted to get something off her chest in this book. Because every other chapter, there's violence, there's gore, there's freaking this, that, and t'other. And it's just like, why so much violence here? I know it's Animorphs and we expect it, but it was just like, bang, bang, violence, bang, bang, blood, gore, freaking severed limbs everywhere. It just felt a bit over the top. And that's weird coming from an Animorphs book, because you do expect it, but it was just so crazy. And then the worst part of the book. The worst part. What have I said about Chapman before? This noble guy who in book 2 was given this reputation as this guy who sacrificed his own life for the life of his daughter, and then ever since, he's just been used as comedy foil, essentially. A comedy foil. And he just gets battered around. Remember book 33 where he showed up in that one scene to get punched? And I dropped the book on the floor for that. Similar thing, yeah, pretty much the same thing happens here, right? I'll read it, actually. Talking about the buffalo now. Then it whirled and stampeded straight for Chapman, the assistant principal of our school, member of the sharing and a high-ranking controller. Okay, let's just go back a second. We're at the edge of a zoo, okay? Edge of a zoo. Stampeded straight for Chapman, the assistant principal of our school. What the fuck's he doing there? Why Chapman? Why does this have to be a thing? Why is he there, book? Why are you doing this to this character who I respected? I genuinely respected the Chapman character back after book 2. And then the series is just like, no, he's fucking comedy now. Ruin that character. Why not? It's not that anybody cares about Chapman. I fucking care about Chapman. And the way it just abuses him in this manner. A fucking assistant principal at a zoo looking at buffaloes. I guess he's a high-ranking controller, but just like Visas Free, why is there all this micromanagement? Why do all the... It's like, okay, you've got a bust-up in the mess of on a naval base, and there's the mess. And there's a scuffle between a few of the lads, you know. They've had a bit too much to drink and all this. In comes the Admiral of the Fleet. Here comes the Rear Admiral. Here come the Commodores. And they all come bustling in. Ah, what's going on here then? No, go back to your fucking jobs. Leave it to the freaking lieutenant. I don't know. Why are you doing this, Laura Becciani-Weiss? They just don't like Chapman at this point, do they? But it just gets worse for him. It just gets worse for him. And he's not even involved. Why was he there? I don't freaking know. Anyway, Cassie goes back into the truck where she'd left the morphing cube and picks it up in her mouth. She's the buffalo still. She runs off, finds an empty field somewhere where they're away from the controllers. And the other buffalo follows her, for whatever reason follows her. And then they get into the field and then suddenly, real buffalo starts to morph. That's right, the buffalo starts to morph. And not only does it start to morph, but it morphs Chapman. And you have this half Chapman, half buffalo thing. Fucking, I can't be dealing with this anti-Chapman stuff. I've just been on a rant about it and you're going to get me started again, book. Stop doing this to a character that I actually admire in some way. Stop it. Treat him with some goddamn respect. Why couldn't it just be another guy? Or the mascot for the zoo in a bee costume? Why couldn't it be that? I don't freaking know. Anyway, this creature morphs Chapman, but because it's a kid's series, he doesn't morph entirely all the way. He maintains his fur so that he's not completely naked, because remember, he's not going to morph bloody clothes, is he? And then that's contradicted later in the book. Chapman's pale human skin darkened and sprouted coarse hair. That's page 38. You've established earlier in the book that he kept his hair and now he's resprouting the hair. It's only a niggly little bit, but these little inconsistencies do just annoy me a bit, okay? Now, I know that you'll be thinking, oh, how's the morphing cube? How does this technology work? How did this happen? We're going to cover that at the very end because that's the biggest thing about this book. So we'll save the cube stuff till the end, okay? Let's just carry on for now. So this buffalo is morphing back and forth to human. And when the buffalo is human, at first he's on all fours, snorting and all that, which again just makes Chapman look like a twat, even though it's not technically him, but you know what I'm saying. And he slowly starts to get up on his feet and fucking zombie Chapman sort of thing. And then Cassie figures out that the buffalo is mimicking Cassie's morphing because she's morphing while this is going on. So she morphs back to buffalo and the buffalo does the same. Helicopters are still around searching for them because they apparently lost them. And they go away. They go away that way. Meet up with the other Animorphs. They're a bit further down. And they go to the cave that they're at in book 19, which is a brilliant book. It's a shame that it had to be referenced here. And they're discussing what they have to do. Right, we need to take down this helicopter with the Helmicron ship in. Let's blow it up. Great plan, right? Okay. And there's this weird part where they just assume that it's Hork-Bajir and Taxxons aboard a helicopter. No, we know that they go on bog fighters. Why would they be on helicopters, which are designed for specifically for humans? There's going to be humans on that helicopter, no doubt. So, and I know the Animorphs. It's weird because they're like, yeah, we'll just kill Hork-Bajir and Taxxons. Fine by me. Humans, nah. I get it to a degree. I get it to a degree, okay? Because they're on Earth and there are families around them that will be affected by that. Families that aren't involved with the Urks. Fair enough, but still it just seems a bit dodged to me. Anyway, they get into a scuffle because the Urks are still after them. They're still tracking them. And a bunch of Hork-Bajir and Taxxons are everywhere. Fucking millions of them surround them in the woods and they get into a big scuffle. And from this point on in the book, it's just fighting. They're just running away and fighting. There really is not much else to talk about. There really isn't, because every scene is just, we get a bit further, another scuffle, get a bit further, another scuffle, get a bit further, give it that. It carries on like that for a while. But in this first fight, the most annoying thing happens. You know how we always get the Deus Ex Machina? The last minute, I shall save you, and jump in at the last moment, save the day, woohoo, everything's great. It's usually reserved for, you know, the big characters. Big characters get in there, save the day, what have you. They're in the middle of this fight, the battle's turning, and then the frickin' buffalo does a Deus Ex Machina. It comes in and turns the fight. I don't know. It's not a throw on the floor but moment. It's just a sort of disappointed look moment. Disappointed in you. That sort of thing. So they escape that battle and they move along and they find another battle. But in between those battles, they have these moments where they're like, oh, we've got this buffalo human and he's making noises like there, and he's imitating them. Bloody dust. And all of the Animorphs are having this thought of, right, we just got to kill this thing, because if the Yeerks capture this, they could potentially find out who we are. All they got to do is shove a Yeerk in that and they're away, right? But Cassie's the only one who's holding back and having these other thoughts. And the logic she gives here is, it has human DNA in it now. It has human DNA now. Never mind that it's a buffalo, even though she's the animal lover. Because it's got human DNA, I can't kill it. Okay, right. Do you remember all the Hork-Bajir you've killed, Cassie? Okay, I know they don't have human DNA, but they are sentient creatures, of course. Why do the other animals want to kill this buffalo? Because it is a dire threat to their resistance. Why are you killing Hork-Bajir? Because when you're fighting them, if they kill you, That's a dire threat to the resistance. Same thing, dire threat to the resistance. So you're holding back on killing this buffalo with human DNA, but you're happy to go around killing... Well, you're not happy to go around killing Hawkbajir, but you're doing it and you're justifying it to yourself. I've just remembered something. In the last book, didn't they discover that the Andalites aren't coming for them? Do you remember when Cassie said, I can't justify killing Hawkbajir anymore because the Andalites aren't coming? It was meant to be a farce. It was meant to be a play for the Andalites to see and believe. But that rang true. So if we're still thinking that the Andalites aren't coming, then she should still feel that way. That's a point that I didn't bring up in the last book. The fact that the Andalites probably weren't lying when they said that the Andalite fleet was off elsewhere. So all the points that the Animorphs gave when they all stormed off, that all those points were still valid, including Cassie's, which was, can't justify killing Hawkbajir anymore. And yet she carries on now? Weird. Weird. But I think we'll cover that in the end of cycle review. So the Animorphs go for a few more little scuffles, and they end up at a roadside. And this is a bit strange. They've left the buffalo behind again. Every time they go off, this buffalo just gets left behind to come after them and provide another Deus Ex Machina. It's weird. The Animorphs rush forward, then Cassie's sort of coming along behind, and even further behind is freaking buffalo coming up. And he always comes and joins them at the right time, and it's almost comedy. It's unfunny comedy. It's not trying to be comedy, but in a way, it's like a Laurel and Hardy sort of thing. Mr. Bean, Three Stooges, whatever. And they get to this roadside, and there are patrol cars there. And their plan isn't to just speedily jump over the road and try to do it when no one's looking, but some of them are going to morph fly, go to the other side, and Marco's going to stay back, and he's got the cube, and he's going to launch over the road. Great. So you're not expecting any of the control cars to... What the fuck is that? The blue box! Chase it! No, that's just another one of those weird plans that I don't freaking know. But just at that last moment, in comes the buffalo again, and also there's Visser 3, he comes down and they're on this road. And Visser 3's pointing at this buffalo who's just sort of standing there like that. And he actually pokes the buffalo, pokes it. And then what he does is just baffling to me, because he turns and just looks at his troops. And you remember how, Andalites, 360 vision, whoop-de-doodly-doodly-doo. No, there's none of that. There's none of that. All of his attention, he's got Animorphs to the left, Animorphs to the right. Here he is, stuck in the middle with them. And he's just looking at them. All the while, the Animorphs are just standing there, like freaking nothing. And this buffalo, because the Visser poked the buffalo, is now morphing Alaran, Visser 3's host. And he's just there morphing, growing things. And Visser's just not looking. It's just stalk eyes, not a movement, with Animorphs everywhere, just forward, yelling at his subordinates. Classic Visser 3. I mean, just... I'm going to put you on the floor. I'm not going to throw you. It's one of those really big irritations, but it's not a fucking throw it rage. You're on the floor. There you go. Kicked you a bit. Okay, that'll do. So Visser 3 just doesn't look. Buffalo morphs, and then they get into a scuffle. And Visser 3, Prince's body, combat trained for years. Sort of can't even... He loses a fight against some buffaloes, just like that in an Andalite body. He loses. He gets knocked unconscious. What a fucking clown this guy is, honestly. It's like Mike Tyson losing to this thing. Mike Tyson, he's down! Nah, mate, nah. And this, of course, gives the Animorphs the chance to escape, and they run off again, on to the next scene. Run to the next scene. where they're just sitting around talking about what they're going to do. They're going to go to the beach, bring the helicopter over and repeat what happened in book 34, which I believe was a Laura Bacchiani-Weiss book as well. As well. I believe that was Laura as well. So she's got the same trick going on again. She likes this scene. She likes the scene of Cassie as an osprey. She's flying up high and then she demorphs and then morphs whale and hits the thing. She likes that sort of scene. And we've seen it before. This happens a lot. This whole demorph as something heavy and land on something. But the one thing I will say, I'm skipping ahead now, but while I'm remembering it, remember in book 34 where Cassie sort of went straight from one morph to the other? It doesn't happen here. Remember book 34, she's osprey and she starts demorphing, but at the same time as she's demorphing, she's morphing the whale and she's a mix of human, whale and osprey. In this book, no, she can't do that anymore. She can't do that. I've just checked, my apologies, it was Melinda Metz that wrote book 34, so no, it wasn't this. That's probably why Laura Bacchiani-Weiss didn't do that again, because maybe she forgot what Melinda Metz had written in book 34 with the half morph thing. But again, that never happened again. That was probably just book 34 doing its own thing. I really liked that book, but yeah, that was a weird scene. Anyway, going back to where we were, they're talking about doing this plan, and Cassie notices an ant on the cube, so off you go, ant. And then the ant crawls on her leg. And you can already see where this is going, can't you? Okay? It is a bit predictable. Now, I'm going to pick you up again, just so we can talk about this scene. So the plan, it goes ahead. The Animorphs fly off again, leaving Cassie to go along as the buffalo. The other buffalo is there again and chases. And then once again is left far behind to do a Deus Ex Machina later. Fuck me. It's actually hilarious. You've got some charm. You've got charm, book, I'll give you that. You've got humour charm. But she runs ahead, the buffalo's fucking like this behind. And then suddenly, well, she morphed to wolf, to be fair. I don't remember why. It was a weird pacing and I'd lost focus at this point. Remember I said this is 117 pages, the shortest book. By this point, I was just like, please just end now. You've gone on long enough. And my reading wasn't quite as concentraty as it would normally be. So, but yeah, she morphed wolf and then demorphed again for whatever reason. I can't quite remember, because it was just such a drog. And then suddenly this ant that was on her, and was still on her apparently, because she never got rid of the frickin' ant, starts to morph her. So suddenly Cassie's there, she's demorphed, and she's looking at herself. This ant has morphed her, but it's like slowly going back and forward through the morphing process. So the antennae are springing in and out, the pincers are coming in and out. And this ant is just Cassie now, and just starts screaming, like overload, because it can't handle the human brain. And then it starts attacking Cassie because Laura Bacchiani-Weiss, as I've said, just wants everything to fight today. Never mind that the ant probably can't control his brain. No, make it fight. Bang, bang, bang. Wallop, smash, crack. We need the fight scenes. No, honestly, Laura, we don't need the fight scenes. We don't need this. But yeah, Aunt Cassie is now attacking the real Cassie. And what do you know? Real buffalo, Deus Ex Machina, wham, bam, bollop. And takes out this ant controller thing. And then remember Cassie's little moral lesson earlier. I can't kill the buffalo because it's got human DNA. What does she do as soon as this ant has gone demorphed? Stomp, stomp, stomp. Fuck you, ant, diddly deedle do. And she stomps it in the ground and kills it. Bloody hell. Have you just forgotten that your Here she comes. I feel it. I feel it coming. Oh, I can't kill you, Mr. Buffalo, because you have human DNA.
But you, Ant, for fuck's sake, die! Little do I care for your human DNA, for you are an inferior fool to me, and I shall stomp you.
Yeah, once again, Cassie's hypocrisy just goes out the window. We've seen this before, it's in character. Remember Megamorphs 3, remember the mutation, it's in character. She's all la-di-da, oh, I won't hurt a fly, if it's got human DNA especially. And then as soon as she's personally affected by something, whether it be racist, or Hork-Bajir being mutated, or an ant, she just flips a fucking lid. Oh, I got scared, therefore morals out the window, stompity stompity stomp. It's just Cassie. It's hypocrite Cassie. We're just used to it at this point. And I love it. I love the fact that she's a hypocrite. It's something we can all relate to. We're all a bit hypocritical, aren't we? Don't deny it. We all are at some points in our lives. And Cassie represents that. That's what she represents. And I like that. What I do find annoying is that she doesn't even address it. She just does it, and then she doesn't show any sort of self-reflection. She doesn't think to herself, all this time I've been saying we can't kill the buffalo because it has human DNA, but this ant scared me, therefore it must die. I can't think of anything to reflect on here. Come on, Cassie, come on. Come on, stick with us here, stick with us. Anyway, now that she's killed Aunt Cassie, they carry on and they get to the beach. And she goes Osprey. Oh no, by the way, the buffalo died. Yeah, the buffalo died because after the ant thing, Cassie's standing there and the helicopter comes over and the buffalo is standing there and just, bang, buffalo explodes. All done. What? What? Where did that... Firstly, since when have helicopters had Dracon beams? Maybe the controller in the thing had one and he shot out the window. Maybe. It just seems like it's meant to say that the helicopters got Dracon beams, but whatever. But yeah, Cassie just gives it a line. I have to go now, I said, knowing it couldn't understand me. Thank you for saving my life. The buffalo's ears twitched, and then I knew what to say. You are good, I said softly. Its ears came around and it made a soft, almost friendly noise. The helicopter buzzed into sight. Chew! And the Dracon beam blew up the buffalo. What? That's it? That's the end of that particular... So Cassie doesn't have to kill it. Now she's removed of that responsibility. The Yerks just come along, bang, there you go, and Cassie runs off. I don't know. I honestly don't know what to say. I'm not going to throw you on the floor because I'm genuinely getting a humour out of this catastrophe. You're such a charming book for all the wrong reasons. Fuck. All throughout this book, oh, Cassie, you're going to have to kill it, you're going to have to kill it. Oh, I can't do it, I can't do it. I've just killed this ant. Maybe I should have some self-reflection and do that. Oh, no, the Yerk's done it for me. Oh, my God. If you're trying to get a lesson across book, you really aren't succeeding. Anyway, they go ahead with a plan. Cassie goes up high and she starts to demorph. Doesn't do a trick that she did in book 34, of course. Morphs whale, and she thinks, oh, I haven't got time anymore, and got time. And then the controller looks up from the helicopter and banks to the left. Oh no, I'm going to miss. Meanwhile, by the way, the other animals are dolphins, they're getting shot at, whatever, doesn't matter. So the helicopter veers to the left, whereupon it encounters a seagull. And the seagull gets sucked into the air intake and... this whole helicopter just explodes because, as we all know, helicopters aren't equipped to deal with bird issues. Why? What the fuck, book? You honestly think helicopters aren't capable of withstanding birds getting sucked into the air intake? Nonsense. Pure nonsense. And it's just another way for the book to get out of having to write its way out of something. Oh, how are we going to get rid of this buffalo? Just Yerk shoot it. How are we going to get rid of this helicopter? A seagull goes into the air and... This book just doesn't want to finish its own plot lines. It doesn't. It just wants something else to deal with it. All along, this whole thing. All this thing going on. And a seagull gets sucked into the thing explodes. Yay, we won. Oh my God. What are you playing at, Book? Oh, and then, yeah, Cassie falls into the water and she's able to demorph even though she's unconscious. The book says semi-unconscious. But she's able to demorph. But you know what? It makes sense that the Animorphs are now able to morph while they're non-conscious, because the ant morphed Cassie, even though we know that ants are a hive mind, they've got no individual thoughts of their own. So how can this ant morph Cassie? How? How does that happen? It's not thinking about it, is it? Don't know what a human looks like. Even if they did have a brain, all they'd see about a human is like nothing, a bit of skin. How are you going to get an image of Cassie from that? That doesn't work. So there's some other process going on by which things morph and demorph. That's the only valid explanation. But every time they've morphed and demorphed, it's because they've been thinking about the thing they're changing into. That's now changed. That's gone. That's kaput. It's history. We've got new ideas. Fuck. That's the end of the book. They go home, la-di-da, we won. Great. Okay. That's it. 117 pages, which felt like 117 years. Let's cover the details of the cube, right? Because that is the biggest part of this book. Apart from the just non-stop violence, you know, I'll cover that first before I go into the cube stuff, okay? Something I was thinking about this morning. Animorphs has a lot of violence in it. It does. It has a lot of violence, and it's necessary. It wouldn't be Animorphs if it didn't have it. It wouldn't be war if you didn't have it. But you're not supposed to enjoy it. If you enjoy the violence in Animorphs, then honestly, there's probably something a bit wrong with you. Because you got to remember that throughout all this violence, there are innocent people being killed and injured. Innocent people. That shouldn't excite us. That should make us feel anguish and despair. And it does for me. I'm reading this book and every time a violent scene comes along, I have that bit of, oh God, that's not good. I have that. Doesn't make me want to stop reading. I still love reading it because we like reading tragedy, don't we? Shakespeare, that was all bloody tragedy, wasn't it? Animorphs is tragedy for that reason. So I don't feel all happy and, oh, this is exciting. When I get to a violent scene, I'm like, oh God, that's terrible. Oh God, can't believe they're having to do this shit. That's what it is to me. But this book is just non-stop violence. Helicopters exploding, people being trampled by bulls, Hawkdeer getting their throats ripped out and their limbs severed off. And it's just like, this is just grim. This book is both really grim, really... And also trying to be funny and also just unintentionally funny. It's those three things. And it's also got just tons of body horror. Half of this book is just body horror. Which, I mean, I'm not against. It just felt a bit weird. I mean, people say book 36 doesn't feel like Animorphs. I thought it did. I thought it felt Animorphsy. This book didn't. This book genuinely felt like some sort of body horror thing. Is what it is, I suppose. Anyway, big talking point here, the morphing cube. The morphing technology. How the hell does it work? Okay, I've gotten two books here, two key books in which we can look at how morphing technology works. Let's go through them. So, book 1, The Invasion, okay? How do they acquire the morphing technology? We have no choice. Then each of you press your hand against one of the sides of the square. So the 5 Animorphs are there and they're told to put their hand on the side of the square. We did. 5 hands, each pressed against one side. Then a 6th hand, different from ours, with too many fingers. Don't be afraid, the Andalite said. Something like a shock, only pleasurable, seemed to run through me. A tingle that almost made me laugh. That is it. So what happened there? So they put their hands on it. And then Elfangor puts his hand on it as well. Why would he do that? Why would he do that? He didn't have to, surely. Unless he did, right? So once they'd all put it on, his hand came on, and then they got the tingle. What does that imply? It implies one of two things. Either he's got magic fingers, or the Andalites have some sort of thing on it, or somebody who already has the morphing technology has to touch it. Right, so that's the conclusion we can draw from that. Let's look at book 20, The Discovery, when they're giving David the morphing technology, okay? Axe held out the cube in one hand. David stepped forward, still obviously a little intimidated by Axe. He pressed his hand down on the cube. It tingles, David said. Blah, 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 blah. That's it, that's all he said. That's all that happened. So what happened there? Okay, so Axe is holding the cube, again, an andalite, and David touches it, gets that tingle, wham bam, he's now an Animorph, okay? So on both previous occasions, the two other times we've used the morphing technology, the morphing cube, for somebody to get the power to morph, there's been an andalite holding it. First time, the kids are holding it, then Elfangor touched it and they got the tingle. Second time, Axe is holding it, David touches it, he gets the tingle, okay? So it's either one of two things, either specifically an andalite touching it, and then somebody else touching it, or somebody who already has the morphing technology touching it, okay? How does it work in this fucker? The buffalo in the truck scraped by it, okay? And then ran out and bumped Chapman, who went flying, so just a brief touch, and the buffalo acquired Chapman. Later on, the buffalo's standing there, and the visor pokes the buffalo, and then the buffalo's acquired him. Then we have an ant crawling on the morphing cube, which gives it the power to morph, and then goes on Cassie's leg and acquires her. Okay. How do we tackle this? I mean, fuck me. So apparently now, according to this book, Elfangor and Axe didn't have to be touching the cube in book 1 and 20, which contradicts book 1, where Elfangor deliberately reached up and touched the box, which set off the tingle. That wasn't important if you pay attention to this book. That didn't have to happen. He did not have to touch that, nor did Axe in book 20. All that it needs is for something to simply touch it, just brush against it, because that's what we can assume happened with the buffalo, just briefly touched it. Morphing technology. Acquiring. Does it just take touching? You could think, well, maybe as the buffalo was hitting Chapman, it was thinking about Chapman and that caused the acquisition. And when Visser 3 poked the buffalo, same thing again. But then think about the ant. When the ant is on Cassie, is it thinking, oh, this is a human, I shall acquire this now? Ants don't think. Ants don't think, they're automatons. They don't think for themselves. And yet it's still acquired Cassie. So the acquiring thing is out the window. How does this work? I mean, I get it, it's alien technology. We don't know the ins and outs. There might be some little things here or there. But this idea that something can get the morphing technology and then just morph into anything just by existing near it, it's been sat in Cassie's barn for ages. How many different bugs and insects have crawled over this blue box? Why aren't they springing up everywhere as different animals and what have you? Happened with the ant. Why is this not happening? Why is it this one occasion? Maybe the box was touching Cassie's leg. That might be the only explanation, but she didn't mention that. We just have to speculate on that. So if the box is touching somebody else who has the morphing technology and someone else touches it, then they get that, possibly. But that doesn't work for the buffalo because it was in the truck. There was nobody else in there. It was just the buffalo. Touched it, got the morphing power. So that's not how it works. How does this how do you... Sorry, Tobias. How do you work? I mean, come on. This book has just confused me to no end regarding you, the morphing cube. It just makes no sense. It makes absolutely no sense. Even if there's no insects like she put in a sealed thing. Bacteria has DNA. It's going to have bacteria crawling all over the fucker. It was sat on a construction site for ages. All sorts would be crawling on it. Does bacteria get the morphing technology by sitting on it? And then if it goes on something else, you'd just have things popping up everywhere. You'd have Cassies growing up out of the soil like fucking Cassie-pocalypse. Hypocrisy. I want a fanfic now of zombie Cassies just sprouting out of the ground because she got a roach infestation in the barn, and they all touch the cube, and they all go into the ground after having, touched Cassie, and they just sprout up out of the ground. Moral dilemmas. Dear God. What a train wreck you are. Right, Jake's leadership. I don't even know where to begin, because this book was just insanity from beginning to end. I hardly noticed any of the other characters were actually there. I mean, Jake has a yell at Cassie a couple of times. I really don't know what to rate Jake here. He doesn't really do anything. Most of the decision making is made by Cassie. I mean, Jake doesn't tell her to outright kill the buffalo, which he probably should have done. I'm going to give him a 5. Just average, slightly below average. What does this book give us in terms of character development? This is the one thing that might stop it from being filler. It really is. There is a sort of metaphorical side to it when it comes to how the plot goes ahead. At all times, the Animorphs are far ahead and Cassie is chasing to catch up. You've also got all the other Animorphs saying, we need to just get rid of that buffalo, get rid of it, kill it, we need to get rid of it. But Cassie is always one saying, oh no, we can't do that. We can't. Not only is she behind physically throughout most of this book chasing after them, but she's still lagging behind in what it means to be at war. At times it's felt like she's gotten it, she's understood, she's taken that on board, but she's still clinging to these ideas, and that's what's making her such a hypocrite, because she'll still cling to these ideas so closely and then jump out and betray those ideas and then just jump back into that shell again. That was this book throughout. So, I mean, it's not technically character development, but it sums up her entire character at this point very neatly. So if you want to look at it from a character development perspective, it is just basically a summary of Cassie's character, all in one book, all thrown in there. Her hypocrisy, her moralising, and the fact that she can't keep up with the rest of them. I mean, that sums Cassie up. And that is by far and away the best part of this book. It's not bad. It's funny, it's silly. I mean, it's not funny trying to be funny, it's unintentionally funny. It's a bit silly, it's a bit wacky. It's definitely filler. But I will say, it's more of a question really. Is this a foreshadowing book? Is it foreshadowing? Because you got all this stuff with the blue box and Cassie's she's still hanging on to her principles. She can't quite keep up with the rest. I get the feeling that there are some undertones here to what happens at the end of the series. Do you remember that little bit near the middle of the book where Cassie's got the morphing cube in her mouth and she drops it and she goes to help Tobias? And Jake turns around and says, Cassie, don't do that again. You keep hold of that cube. You do not drop it. That's your job. Keep hold of it. I don't care what else happens. Is that foreshadowing? Question for you. If it is, it's very clever foreshadowing. And this sums up the book perfectly. It's hideous in so many horrible ways, and it betrays the Chapman character, and the plotline is absurd. The whole thing about the morphing cube is baffling, to say the least, but it has these beautiful little moments just sprinkled in that make it worthwhile. Just those little moments that make you think. And Cassie was very much in character, and that was probably the most enjoyable part of it. What do I give this book in terms of score? Taking that all into consideration, frick me, it wasn't a very enjoyable read, I'll be honest. I mean, yeah, I said it had its good moments, but for 117 pages, excruciatingly short for an Animorphs book, it felt so long. It felt so long. The morphing cube stuff was just, what the fuck was that? What's happening to the rules here? It's a 4. Is it a 5? It's a high 4. It's a high 4 because it's made me laugh. It's made me laugh. For as much as I hated it, it made me laugh. I've had a genuinely fun time talking about this book here. It's got that just charm to it. So yeah, high 4. A high 4 out of 10. So that brings an end to that book. What have we got next? It's this one, number 40, T'other. It's the one with the bee on the front. So that's next week. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this rather bizarre episode talking about what was a rather bizarre book. And yeah, this cycle of books just up and down in terms of quality, isn't it? It really is. But that's that. Thank you very much for watching. And I shall see you next time. Ta-ra.